My name is Luke Jerram, and I'm the artist behind the Museum of the Moon that was recently presented in Kerala. I've been working as an artist for 26 years, and about 20 years ago I had this idea to make a replica moon. I was cycling over the river of my home city in Bristol one day, and I realised all the water had suddenly gone, and it was the tidal variation. There's a huge tidal variation in my home city, and so that gave me an idea to create a sculpture of the moon, to think about how the moon has inspired cultures and music and poetry and religion all around the world. But 20 years ago, the NASA data wasn't available and the printing technology hadn't been invented. And so I had to wait 15 years for technology and science to catch up. And then I created this artwork. Yeah, I managed to find the NASA data and find the funding necessary to make this sculpture. The first moon I made was actually helium filled, and it popped live on television. It was a complete disaster. So I've learnt a lot since that, prototyping days. It's the nature of making things. If you're a scientist or an artist or a technician, you have to be willing to fail, and you have to try ideas out and see what works and make improvements to your design. So yeah, and the artwork has now been touring for 5 years. We've had 350 presentations now, I think, of the artwork in about 30 different countries. But yeah, we've never had quite the response that we had in Kerala a few nights ago. It was extraordinary. So the sculpture is created out of high-resolution NASA imagery, and it is 500,000 times smaller than the real thing. So 1 centimetre on the sculpture's surface represents 5 kilometres. So it allows the public to see every crater, valley and mountain in perfect detail. And of course the moon that we see in the sky, it always faces just one direction. We can only see the front side of the moon. So this sculpture allows the public to walk all the way around it and see the far side of the moon for the first time as well. The artwork is a sculpture, but it also comes with a surround sound composition by a composer called Dan Jones, who I've worked with many times before. And the music includes some Clair de Lune, which is a piece of classical Western music inspired by the moon by a composer called Debussy. And it's also got the sound of moths and the sound of the sea. It's got the sound of the Apollo moon missions that America did in the 1960s when they landed on the moon for the first time. So that music helps to connect the architecture or the surrounding landscape with the sculpture. So it's a touring installation, but it also acts as a venue for events to take place beneath it. So underneath the moon we've had yoga lessons, and we've had wine and cheese nights, and we've had astronomy lectures and film nights and silent discos and all sorts of crazy events. So I really like leaving space for other people to be creative. And that's why I'm looking forward to this artwork being presented as part of the Global Science Festival, which is taking place in Kerala from the 15th of January to the 15th of February. So presenting it in the park was really nice. It allowed the artwork to be seen from the road, which was really cool, and allowed the public to walk around it. And I think also we were very lucky with the weather, so it wasn't too windy, so it did look great. I think the organisers of the festival were expecting about 20,000 people, but then 100,000 people turned up. So there's obviously a great appetite for arts projects that combine science with art. But also I think the moon has universal appeal. Humanity has been staring at the moon for 200,000 years, so it's always been a destination for humanity. And has inspired so much music and poetry and literature, religion in every culture around the world. So I'm very aware that people aren't coming to see an artwork by Luke Jerram, they're coming to see the moon, and that's okay. So the wonderful thing about science and also NASA is that they make their data freely available for the public to use, and that's amazing. And I suppose in many ways scientists can justify their expense sometimes if we know that humanity will benefit from that science. And so yeah, it's been great to have the use of that imagery to be able to create this sculpture.